Hi there everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to make this little, I don't know what you want to call it, a cape, little shrug. It's knitted and it's knitted in cable. It's really not hard. It's unusual. It's made out of two rectangles and then you just sew them together into a tube, just leaving your armhole, your little armholes out. You could put a button on it if you really wanted to, you know, or just tie it with something or a belt or whatever. But that's what it looks like when you wear it. It's kind of a multi-size. It's, you know, the size that you want. You could make it a little bit bigger if you wanted to, but it's, or smaller. But generally that's, you know, the one size fits all. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make it. So let's get started. Alright, so the fabric that you're going to be needing, the yarn that you need for your project is this Line Brand yarn. It's Wool Ease Thick and Quick. Now you don't have to use this one. You can use a different one, but this is the chunky one. It's a 6-ounce skein of yarn and it's a super bulky size 6. So that's really the key here, because otherwise you're just going to come out slightly smaller than mine or larger if you go larger. But anyway, I used 6 of these, so you want to get yourself 6 of these. You can, this one is a little bit more expensive, so if you want a cheaper one, they do have a cheaper one that's also in a super bulky 6, which you can also use. It doesn't really matter. This one just has some actual wool in it. It's made of wool and, let's see, it's made of wool and acrylic. It's 80% acrylic and 20% wool, so that's why it's a little bit more expensive. So if you don't want wool, I know some people can't wear wool, you can get the other one that doesn't have the wool in and it's also super bulky. Anyway, you need 6 of these, and this is the 6-ounce skein. If you go with the other type, I don't think it's a 6-ounce, I think it's smaller, so you would need more skeins of yarn for that. So you'll just have to have a look and see what they say. And then I'm using a size 15 knitting needle, and it fits on this one pretty well. It's a 10mm or a 15 knitting needle, and you can really use any length size that fits your stitches, so it doesn't matter which length you use. I just prefer to use a slightly shorter length one because it's easier, it doesn't clunk all over the place. So, and then you're going to need a crochet hook, and this is a size 6mm or a J. Now the reason we're going to use this crochet hook is to sew our work together. If you don't want to use a crochet hook, you can just use a yarn needle and you can sew it together, but I encourage you to try with a crochet hook. We're not crocheting, we're just going to sew it together with this. It's just going to make your work neater. So you can use that, yeah, and that's all that you really need. So let me go ahead and show you how to begin our project. Main thing here is that you know how to do a knit stitch and a purl stitch. That's what you need to know, because I'm not teaching you to knit. I do have videos up to teach you how to knit and how to do the rib stitch, and they'll be in the box below, so you can have a look at that if you need to know how to cast on and how to do all of that. But this I'm going to be teaching you how to do the cable stitch, and this is very simple. This is a very easy cable stitch. It's only got 1 row in every 6 where you're actually using a cable needle. So for you to learn cables and to start, this is a great video for that. And I'll go slowly with the cable stitches. But anyway, you want to start with your long tail cast on, or however you want to cast on. I just take this one and I wrap it around my finger. So I like to take this one and wrap it around my finger, and then I'm actually working off the yarn, off the skein. And we're going to cast on, so do them fairly loosely, don't go too tight, because else it's hard to start with your next round, your next row. So just go with your stitches, whichever manner you prefer. Don't go too tight, and the tension, remember, is all in the way you're pulling this yarn over here. So just be aware of that. And then I will meet you for our next. So you go ahead and you're going to cast on 63 stitches. So all you do is do your casting on, and I'm going to go ahead and do mine, and once I've got 63 on, I'll meet you back here. Now I'm going to be showing you how to knit your pattern. Now this pattern consists of 6 rows, Alright, so you're going to go from row 1 to row 6, and you can use a stitch marker, which I'm using, and we're going to start off with row 1. Now, don't worry about the fact that I've already done a whole bunch. I'm showing you the pattern. Once you have your stitches cast on, this is the very first row that I'm showing you now that you're going to do. So pretend that I've got absolutely nothing over here and you've just got your stitches casted on. This is the very first row that you're going to do. So as I say, don't worry about that I've done a whole bunch already. It's insignificant. The pattern is what you need to understand, and that's what I'm going to be showing you. So as I say, once you've got your 63 stitches cast on, this is what you're going to do for the very next row, which is your first row. I've marked it on my marker as number 1, and we're going to start. And as I say, there are 6 rows. Row 1 and 3 are the same. Rows 2, 4, and 6 are the same, and then row 5 is the cable row. And anyway, so the first row that you're going to do is you're going to purl 3 stitches. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3. You're going to purl your first 3 stitches. Now mine is easier to see because I've already got a whole bunch done. So as you go along, you see it's a little bit easier, but don't worry about that, because your very first one, all that you're doing is you're going to purl 3, and then you're going to knit 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, and 12. Alright, and then you're going to purl 3. And this is all that you're going to do for the very first row. You purl 3, and then you knit 12. And that's as simple as this first row goes. Now I'm going to knit my 12, 3, 11, and 12, and then once again you're going to purl 3. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my row, and you can see it's pretty easy. Purl 3, knit 12, purl 3, knit 12. And that's your very first row. So go ahead and do that, and you'll find that you should have 1, 2, 3, 4. You're making 4 cables per row. So for the whole section that you've got here, you have 4 of these. So if you've got more than that, then you've got more stitches on, which is not according to the way I'm doing it. But anyway, so just purl 3. You start off with purling 3 first, then you knit 12. Go ahead and do that, and you should end off with purl 3. So do that all the way, purl 3, and then I'll meet you back on row 2. Alright, so we finished with our purls. We finished with purl 3, and now we're going to start with row 2. So I'm going to change my row counter, sorry, not a stitch marker, it's a row counter. I'm changing that to row 2, and this is what you're going to do for row 2. Row 2 is going to be knit 3, so this row you'll knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you will purl 12. So you're really just doing the opposite for this row 2. So that's also very easy. As I say, this stitch pattern is really not hard. You just got 6 rows to it with one where you cable, and the rest is very easy. So this one is knit 3, purl 12, knit 3, purl 12. And this is number 11, number 12, and now I knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're just going to keep doing that. So as I say, for row 2 it's knit 3, purl 12, knit 3, purl 12, and you should end off with 3 knits. So this one's very easy. Finish with your knit 3, and then I will meet you for row 3. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you. Alright, so row 3, I'm going to move my row counter to 3, and we're going to start row 3. Now row 3, like I said, is the same as row 1. You purl 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you knit 12. And it's exactly the same as you did with row 1. Start off with purl 3, and then you knit your 12. And this cat absolutely loves this yarn. She likes the wool, so she thinks she can sleep on it while I'm knitting, and that just doesn't work. So she's trying to sleep on my work here. She's trying to lie on the work here. Can you believe her? Ronnie, you can't sleep on here, Baba. Anyway, so let me see if I can continue knitting. So you just got to knit your 12 and pull 3. Now I have 3 that I have to pull. So we pull 3. So we pull 3 and then we knit 12 again. And that's all that you're doing for this round. So you can go ahead and do that. As I said, it's exactly the same as row 1. And you should start having a little bit of a, because you're on row 3, you should be looking like that now. So you have your 3, your 12 and your 3. So you can go ahead and do that. And remember that with this row you need to end off with pull 3. So I'm going to finish mine and then I will come back and do row 4 with you. So finish that row and I'll meet you back for row 4. Alright, so row 4, I'll just move my counter there. It's just easier to have that counter because it's quite easy to forget which row you're actually on. And then you have to try and count your cables here to see which row you're on. So it's a lot easier just to have that. Anyway, row 4 is going to be our knit 3, pull 12. Knit 3, pull 12. And that's, as you can see, this is a very easy pattern. The only row that's a little tricky is our cable row. And I'll show that to you slowly so you don't have to worry about not knowing how to do it. But yeah, I mean, once again, this row is pretty self-explanatory. You just do your knit 3 and then pull 12. So yeah, this is row 4. I'm going to finish mine, and this one once again is going to end off with your knit 3s. So knit 3, pull 12, ending off with your knit 3s. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine, and once you have finished that, this is what it looks like on the wrong side. You finish off with your knit 3 and I will meet you back here for row 5. And row 5 is our cable row. So be sure to have a cable needle like this so that you can do your cables. If you don't have one, you could use a straight needle that's got 2 sides like this, 2 pointed sides. That would also work. But yeah, so get this row finished and I'll meet you for row. Alright, row 5. This is our cable row. So now what you're going to do, row 5 is pull 3 in the beginning. So you'll pull 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now this is how you're going to do your cable. You're going to take your cable needle and you're going to slip your first 3. Okay, so this is the beginning of your 12 knitted stitches. Okay, so take the first 3, slip them onto this needle. Okay, and as you see, I'm slipping it this way, purl ways. Okay, and drop that to the back. Put this forward so you can knit. Okay, so that's sitting in the back. And now you're going to come across to these stitches and you're going to start knitting them. So this is just in the back. You're just going to ignore them. And you're going to knit 3. 1, 2, 3. So you put 3 on your needle and then you knit 3. Now you're going to knit these ones that are on this needle. You're going to knit these. So you're going to hold them facing this way. You're going to hold them so that they're facing this way. They must face the right way. And then you're going to knit them. So come to the beginning one and just knit that one. 1, 2, 3. And it's a little bit tight because you're crossing your stitches over. Okay, then you're going to take these ones and take them off. These 3 are coming to the front. So drop them to the front and knit your next 3. 1, 2 and 3. And I'll do more with you, so don't worry that you don't have it yet. Take these, have them facing this way, bring them to the end and knit these 3. 1, 2 and 3. And there's a little bit of an art to this, but you'll get the hang of it, so don't worry if you haven't got it quite yet. You'll get it. The more you do, the easier it gets. And you can see that you've crossed your stitches over, and this is going to feel chunky and tight, but it's okay. That's how it's meant to be. Okay, then you're going to pull these 3 in between. So the only place that you're doing your cable is on the knitted stitches. These 3 pulls get pulled all the time. Now you can see you've got your next set of 12. So you're going to do the same thing. Take the first 3 off, put them to the back. They go to the back of your work as they are. This is how you're going to be knitting them, like this, with this facing this way. Okay, so now you're going to take these and knit these. Just let that hang there. Whoops, and this should have been in the knit position. Make sure your yarn is in the knit position because you're knitting. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to knit these 3, push them to the side, to the end of that needle, and then knit 1, 2, 3. Keep your yarn there, take these 3 off. And don't try and knit another 3. You have to take them off. The minute you've knitted them off this cable needle, you're putting them back onto this one. This one comes to the front. First one to the back, second set to the front. And then you knit 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you take these, leave them like that, bring it to the end of the needle like that, and knit them. So they're coming to this side. They must lie flat in the same position. You don't want to twist them, and you can't knit them this way. So it has to be this way, because you're knitting that first one. And then you knit these 1, 2, whoops, and 3. Okay, then you got 3 pulls. Put that down, and I'm just going to knit these 3 pulls. And it does get tight on your needles. Try and do it, you don't want to go too tight, but don't go too loose either. And then you pull these 3, 1, 2, 3, and remember, put your yarn back in the knitting position for your next set of cables. And you're doing 4 because you've got 4 cables, so you have to do this 4 times. Okay, so now I'm going to slip 1, 2, 3. Remember, the first set goes to the back. And I'm going to knit these 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to knit them off my cable needle. Keep it facing that way. Bring it there and knit them 1, 1, 2, and 3. Then immediately take the next set of 3 off. 1, 2, 3, because this is the second set that comes to the front. Knit 3, 1, 2, whoops, 3, and then you're knitting these 3 off your needle. Just bring them there and knit these 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then you have your 3 to pull. Put your yarn in the needle position, in the purl position, and let's pull the next 3. And then we've got 1 more set to do, and that's our cable row done. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here we go with our next. Okay, so this is the beginning of the 12. 1, 2, 3. Drop it to the back. Bring your yarn in the knitting position, else you're going to have a big mix up there. Okay, knit these off your needle. 1, 2, 3. You're working in 3s here. Okay, take this set and knit these 3. 1, 2, and 3. Immediately take the next set of 3 off, which is here. 1, 2, 3, and leave those forward. So those go forward, and knit these off your knitting needle. 1, 2, 3, and then you're knitting them off your cable. Be careful with your last set because they slip right out here, so just move it up quite a bit, and then you can make sure this is facing this way. And then we're going to knit, let me just pull these down, and you're going to knit these. 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to knit the last 3, pull the last 3 off the last needle here. So 1, 2, and 3. And that's it. You've just done, did your cable row, and that was row 5. Now, if you're unsure what I did, watch row 5 again, just so that you can see how to do it properly, because you don't want to mess it up here. All that it happens is that you're just crossing your stitches over, and you do get a bit of a hole in the back here. So don't worry about that. That is perfectly normal. Yeah, so go ahead and do, if you just watched me, go ahead and do yours, and I'm going to do row 6. Alright, so now we're going to do row 6. And don't forget about row 6. Remember, this pattern is from row 1 to row 6. So row 6 is very important. Initially, the first time round, I missed row 6 and called it row 1. You don't want to do that because you're going to mess up your pattern as to how many, your cables will be uneven over here. So just be careful of that. Just remember to do row 6. That's why it's actually better just to mark it down to count which row you're on. Anyway, so now for row 6, this is as simple as the others. Knit 3, purl 12. Knit 3, purl 12. So this is a simple one again. Knit 3 and purl 12. And this is what you're going to be repeating. Those 6 rows you're going to do over and over. So it's really not a hard pattern. You might want to practice it a little bit before you actually start your work. If you want to go ahead and just get some other yarn and practice doing that cable. You know, it is a little bit of an art to it, but it's not hard. Once you've mastered it, you'll be really happy because you get such a nice effect. Anyway, so this row, as I said, is knit 3, purl 12 and knit 3. So those are your 6 rows that you're going to be repeating over and over. And alright, so I'm wanting to show you how to reattach your yarn once your yarn is done. Now I happen to be at the end of the row and I would have done it right in the beginning on the first stitch, but I want to show you if it wasn't your first stitch, if you were in the middle of your work or wherever you are. It doesn't matter where you restarted, you're going to do the same thing. So just leave your yarn. It's better to start on your knit stitch. So you know, it doesn't really matter, but let's start it on our knit stitch. Now you take your new yarn, there's your new yarn, and you just wrap it over like this. Okay, so just do that to it. So you have a part of, you just have your yarn wrapped like this. Then you're going to put your needle in there and you're going to just bring this around like that. Okay, so you have your yarn. Alright, so there I have my next stitch. Now whether you do it with a purl or knit, it doesn't really matter, your concept is the same. So you take your yarn like this and you just wrap it over like that. Take this. Now I need it to be this yarn I'm not using anymore, so I'm going to bring it onto the wrong side of my work. This is the wrong side because you want your strands to be at the wrong sides of your work. So don't worry about that. Stick your needle in and wrap this over there and bring it through. Okay, now this is the other one. It also needs to be on this side. Okay, so now I've got both my strings on the wrong side. I'll do it with a knit stitch for you as well. Okay, now this next stitch is a purl, so I've got to bring this one here. So all my yarns are now on the wrong side of the work. And then you purl. Alright, so now I've got all my strands on this side. Now this is the factor over here. These yarns are what you want to wrap under your work so you can kind of seal it in. So I'm going to take them and I'm going to put them above this stitch, this yarn. Okay, so just make sure that they're above your yarn, because when I do my purl now I can cross over them and they're going to be tucked under this. Okay, it's really not too hard. Just make sure that this is underneath these. Okay, so it's underneath these. However you do that, then you purl your stitch and then you should be okay. See, now you don't have a gap anywhere, a hole anywhere, your work is secure and this is going to be sewn in later. And then you just keep going with your ribbing or whatever stitches you are doing. And that's not going to go anywhere and you can't see a hole, because sometimes when you join your yarn you'll have a hole. So this is all great. So now you can just keep on going, and whatever stitch you were doing, that's how you're doing it. The aim is to wrap this under your yarn, however you're going to do it, that this one crosses over somehow like that. You could even do it again now, you know. And if you were going to go onto a knit stitch, you could wrap it under, bring your yarn forward and then do your knit stitch like this. See, and now it's wrapped in pretty well. But I'm going to be sewing mine in, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, and make sure it's on the wrong side. And yeah, if you're doing a knit or a purl stitch, it works the same way. The main thing is to wrap this around. So yeah, so let's keep going. Alright, now once you've made yours the length you want, mine measures basically, let's see, in inches. Mine measures about 35 inches. Okay, so mine's about 35 inches, but the best way to work it out is to count these cables that you have made, and I've got 20. So you want to go ahead and count these. Count just like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up, and you should have 20. So I have 20 of those, so that's your best bet. Go up all the way, count these, make sure that you have 20, and finish your last set of rows. So you want to finish row 6, and then we're going to start with our binding off. So just be sure to finish your complete set of rows 6, and then we're going to bind off over here, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so when you are ready to complete your work here, to bind off, you're going to just knit the first 2 stitches. You're just going to knit the first 2, and then you're going to take this one and you're going to pull it over this one, and that's all you do. Knit the next stitch, take the back one and pull it over. Knit the next stitch, take the back one and pull it over, and that's all that you do. That is as simple as it gets. And you're going to do this all the way to the last stitch, and then just pull your yarn through that last stitch. So you can go ahead and do that, and once you have that, you want to make 2 of these rectangles. So go ahead and make 2 of them, and then I'll show you what to do. So just bind off by knitting one and pulling this last back one over that one, and that's all you do. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back now. Alright, so once you've got both of yours completed, we're going to sew the 2 together in the center. Now just be aware, if you want all of your cables running this way, the same way, that you lay it out, that they're both running the same way, so your bottoms are together and the top parts are together. If you turn it around, you'll see your cable is going to, you would see that your cables are going to run differently. This one is going down and this one is going up. You see there, so they're different. But if you want them different, you can have them different. There's nothing wrong with that. But otherwise, if you don't, then just be aware that you have them the right side. And then you're going to turn it inside out. Alright, so to begin our crocheting, I'm using a size 6mm crochet hook, which is a J. Now, if you've never crocheted, don't worry, because I'm going to show you. We're really just sewing this together more than considering it crocheting. But it might introduce you to crocheting, which you might actually like. So anyway, you have your 2, the right sides facing each other, and your cables are going in the same direction. Alright, now, I'm just using the yarn that I had left over. And all that you have to do is come in over here. Now you want to have a nice start, so I'm going right in the beginning over there and right in the beginning over here. Right, and then you're going to just take this piece of yarn that was left on there, otherwise you can use a new piece, and just bring your yarn right through. Okay, so your yarn is to the right. So now I'll show you, I'll keep doing this with you for a little bit. Now you don't want this lot coming into that side, so we've got to come on this side of our work, and we're going to, so you're going to flip this up a bit, and you're going to come in, just go to the next stitch. I'm just really taking one from here, one over there, and then one on this side. Flip all of that up, and you're going to come on the inside of this, and I'm just going to take a stitch. Just grab one like that, so you've got 2, one on each side, and you're going to have your yarn. Make sure your yarn is to the right of your work, okay, and then you're going to come in. I've got a piece of yarn here which I'm trying to get rid of, so don't worry about that. I'm just coming through it. And you just bring your yarn through like this. Through there, and through there. Okay, so let me show you again. So you come in here, grab one of these, come onto this side and grab one of these, and then wrap your yarn around your work, just like this. Sorry, I'm just grabbing that piece again. And just slip through all your stitches, and then your other side will be looking like this. Okay, so flip this up, take your next stitch, and whether you work there or whether you take this one here, it doesn't really matter. I'm going a little bit further inside. of my work. Make sure your yarn is here. Then you're just going to take that, bring it through, bring it through, and bring it through. That's all that you're doing. There's nothing to it. Take the next one and the next one. Now, just a word of caution, bring it through, and bring it through. Don't make it too tight, but it is going to be fairly tight because this is a thinner hook for this yarn. But it's going to be looking like this, which is a strong attachment here. So the only thing that you want to be aware of is to keep your work equal. So if you just keep doing this periodically, where you just hold it, go all the way down, so that your end two are ending at the same place. If our end two don't end at the same place, the bottom part, you're going to have a problem. You don't want your work ending like this. Okay, so you can't end up where you're now at the end over here. You want to keep checking, so just go from the bottom and you just keep checking your work like that, and as long as you do that, you should be okay. Let me just do a little bit more with you. There's another one, and you want them kind of even on both sides. So if I'm taking this one here, it needs to be almost directly opposite with this one. Go through two and go through two. This one here, this one here. And you might find that you're going a little bit out of sync with the one side. We'll just go on to this one, and I'll show you what you do if you're not ending equally. I'll just go in this one. There is no real set way to do this. You're just going to bring your yarn through. You're taking up this stitch, you're taking up this one, and you're bringing your yarn through them. And it's just easier to do this with a crochet hook. And let's see what we look like now. And you can see there, it's looking good on this side, because this is our right side, the right side of our work, and you want it to look good, because this is coming down the back of your back, down the middle of your back. Now, if you find that you putting your work together like this and you're not equal at the bottom, say the one side is a little bit lopsided, in other words, I've taken up too much on this side, or I've taken up too much on this side, just compensate for it. You can compensate for it for a little bit at a time. So for example, if this one is too long, skip some of there and come over here. So instead of going in this one, I'm going to skip one and go in here, and that'll bring it, you can see it's puckering it a little bit here. Now you can do it with little bits, a small amount. You can't do it with a large amount. So if that does happen to you, just compensate for it like that, and just take up little bits more on the one side than the other side. But hopefully you'll be equal. But yeah, that's all that you're going to do. So you're going to go into one stitch here, and pull it through all three of them. And that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine, and you're going to go all the way down. When I get to the end of mine, I'll meet you and show you how we just finish it off. So go ahead and do this, and I will join you back now. Okay, so if you find that you've run out of yarn and you are needing to put a new yarn on here, just bring your stitch up and just bring this through there and pull it through. And that's all that you're going to do, and then you can sew this in, and that's not going to go anywhere. Now to get your new one in, just take your yarn, and this you can do at the beginning of your work too if you don't have a piece of yarn there. Just bend it over like this, give yourself enough here to sew in, and then you're going to just hold it like that. Now get your stitches again, one here and one over here, and take this and just bring your yarn through like that. Just do that and bring it through, and there you have yours in securely. This will be sewn in, and here's my new yarn over here. And then you're just going to keep doing what you were doing. So I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to bring it through all three of those and keep going. So that's how you do it with your yarn. Once you're finished with crocheting here, just do the same thing as you did if you changed your yarn. Just stretch your stitch out like that and put your yarn through, and just pull your yarn through. Now I've got quite a bit here, so you just pull it through, and then you pull that, the yarn that you pulled through, and there you have your securely end. Now what we're going to do, so now that your work is sewn together down the center, crochet together down the center. Should look like that on the other side, and it doesn't matter that it's a bit chunky on the inside, but you're not going to see that. Now you're going to keep your work the way it is, and we're going to be sewing up the side from the bottom. We're going to sew from the bottom up, and you can go as far as you want. This is where your arm is going to come through, so I don't want too big a gap, but I don't want it too small, so I'm going to come 3/4 ways up, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to just check and make sure that it's the right side. So you're going to do it on this side, and you're going to do it on the other side. Same thing, you're going to crochet, you're going to sew up until you get to more or less 3/4 ways up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but I'll show you how to sew. I'll show you how to sew just a little bit now. To begin your sewing, I've got a thread that's on the end of this one. You're going to just, once again, you've got your wrong sides, your right sides facing. Alright, so you're working on the wrong side. Now, you can see that you've got like a row of stitches here. I don't want that to show on the right side. So I'm going to be sewing, I'm first going to join these two. And I'm going to be sewing so that I can't see any of that. And I'm going to be sewing that so I can't see any other stitches on the other side. So I'm going to be coming under these two. Okay, so you come under the stitches that you don't want to have them seen. So that one, and then these over here. And I'm going to just pull my yarn through. So I'm going through under all of the ones that I don't want to have seen on that side, and these two on that side. And you'll see what I mean. And I got a knot in mine. And you'll see what I mean. See, now you don't see anything of what I have. Now if I sewed it, you'd see this seam over here. If that's what you want to see, that's also fine. Then you would, you would sew it right over here. You would just sew these ones over here, that top one and this top one, and then you'd see those at the bottom. So whichever way you want to do it, if you want to see this, that's fine. If you don't, you don't have to. But yeah, so all you're doing is going from the one side to the other, so from this side to this side, and then you pull your yarn through, and that's all that you're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do both of mine so that I can get up to 3/4 on this side and 3/4 on that side, and then we'll take it from there. Alright, so once you have completed sewing your sides here, there's the side, and I left this piece open for my armhole, you will be done. You've done that on this side and you've done it on this side. So you really have a rectangle, little opening there and an opening over there, and the rest opens up here. And then when you put it on, you open it up there, and that goes to the top part, and then this becomes your sleeve over here on both sides. So that's how you make your garment. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you in my next video, and yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. See you again. Bye.